Welcome to anyone listening. I wrote up a quick article and I'm also doing an audio version so people can listen to it if they are driving or something like that. So I hope you enjoy. The title is Double Vision, Death, Hope, and Diamond. So here we go, we'll jump right in. To highlight the brainless punchline that is the current state of affairs in the comics industry, let's examine two problems, side by side. First, a stores problem, then a creator problem. So, stores. Comic stores are in fear of mass closings. This seems to fly in the face of the public numbers and press releases. Diamond Comics, the monolith that effectively controls distribution, claims ever higher sales in their shareholder-friendly industry reports. And then there's a link in the description. There's going to be a bunch of references, so just refer to the description for those links. And you can see on the graph those sales just get better and better over time. How absolutely splendid. Joe Field at FlycoJoe on Twitter says, "Word on the street is there will be a round of comic shop closings in early 2017. Only the support of fans can prevent that." And a recent newsletter from the Vault of Midnight comic shop stated that 2016 has been their lowest year in sales since the Great Recession. But these store owners are contradicting a rush of happy talk publicity from Publishers Weekly and other industry outlets who glowingly claim that more comic stores than ever before, certainly not gaming stores, are opening up. Are these concerned store owners simply confused? Perhaps their accounting is off. Diamond reports that sales are dynamite. Of course, not one of those Diamond sales figures necessarily means that a customer actually bought a comic. You see, Diamond's figures only document bulk sales to the stores themselves. And funny little detail, Diamond mandates that shops order a high mandatory minimum for every single title they want to stock. So if you have a smaller store and you know that you're only going to be able to move about 3 copies of the latest She-Hulk, well, that's too bad. You're buying a whole box or you get nothing. And surprise, Diamond will then refuse to accept returns for any unsold merchandise. Because what could be the harm in offloading 100% of the risk to the little guy? All merchandise is sold by DCD on a non-returnable basis unless otherwise authorized in writing by DCD, right from their own little document. So you see, Diamond can brag about going gangbusters, while stores are simply going bust. And I'm beginning to understand why this Diamond Sucks Reddit exists. There's a lot of fun in there if you're a retailer. And here's a quote from Todd Allen in the Comics Beat article. "This one startled me a little bit, but I've heard multiple stories about the customers, including regulars, dropping out." He goes on to say, "Enough people are agreeing that this is happening for me to believe it, but the why is up for debate." So, with the superhero crowd fading for whatever reason, stores desperately need a fresh injection of new readers. New readers! What a coincidence! That's exactly the problem so many online creators are grappling with currently. Because, you see, there isn't one comics market. There are two. The world of comics today exists in 2 parallel dimensions which do not overlap. When I started Vivid Publishing a decade ago, I called for the rise of a new market. And it has arrived. There's the world of comic shops and the world of crowdfunders. Crowdfunding has spurred a genuine renaissance, young creators, new visions, new books, and a voraciously supportive mob of enthused new readers. Patreon, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and similar platforms are fostering the next generation of talent. From the near-infinite churn of untrammeled creative experimentation in the cauldron of webcomics, viable careers are emerging, surging forth on those standout, ascendant works of art. Beautiful, captivating books produced with professional touches that include hardcover, like spot foil embossing. I mean, we're talking about very solid product here. The art, story, and production quality of Renaissance creators is pristine, thanks to the financial support of the readers in the crowdfunding market. But therein lies one of the biggest challenges facing crowdfunding creators, actually delivering those books to customers. There is not yet an infrastructure to make packaging, storage, fulfillment, and marketing easy. Not to mention some kind of full-time platform to focus on sales, while the creators can focus on creating. Rather, creators have to tackle these logistical issues single-handedly, or by assembling a patchwork of ad hoc companies to fill in the gaps. Fortunately, readers love the books enough to fund them and vault past these hurdles. Partially because the books produced are often vastly more accessible to new readers, standalone stories and coherent series, rather than the tangled, inextricably cross-referenced swarms of content endlessly spreading from Marvel and DC. But Marvel and DC are basically all the comic stores have. Within their brick walls, you'd never even know the glimmering crowdfunding market even exists. So there are two problems in two separate markets. We have a thriving crowdfunding market missing vital infrastructure to assist getting books from creators to readers, and we have a comic shop landscape starving for new books and readers. Books that need stores and stores that need books. This is a real simple problem to solve, isn't it? Well, there's one rock-hard, ossified obstacle lodged between retailers and hope, and that obstacle is Diamond Comics distribution. Diamond is, in the words of underground journalist Jude Terror, a distribution monopoly that enables Marvel and DC to churn out endless gimmick-based garbage to dwindling readership with no economic repercussions because they control the entire market. Let those last words sink in. They control the entire market. But it gets worse. Not only do they control the ring, but they have a dog in the fight. Diamond eliminated the competition and seized control of the entire comics market during the brutal exclusivity wars in the mid-1990s. There used to be dozens of other distributors serving comic shops, and they were all mercilessly crushed. Too long didn't read history here. I have some older articles that go into this whole farce in detail. It's kind of entertaining. Anyways, it was a very strange timing for those exclusivity wars to pop up. In the old field of comics, with more distributors and more indie publishers, this little thing we like to call competition, DC, and especially Marvel, were seeing a cataclysmic drop in their market share. If you can see the graph up on the screen, they were going down, and they were going down fast. But poof! Just like magic, after the trade war and their insider deals with Diamond, that frown turned right upside down. Their market share trend immediately, dramatically, and permanently spiked upwards. Have you ever wondered why Marvel and DC seem to be so ubiquitous in stores? Well, anything different kind of struggles and eventually slips out of view. It's because Diamond not only controls the market, but has an incentive to tilt it in favor of their exclusive business partners. Hard. Diamond has engineered special advantages for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, and Image, acting as their exclusive sales agent and rigging an insider discount structure, easier profit thresholds, and uncontested premium placement in their previews catalog. These insider kickbacks were agreed upon when they murdered the competing distributors and all shook hands together over the graves. Who wants to bet there was a lightning strike in the background? This exclusive relationship places perverse incentives. Diamond cuts their logistical headaches working with a few huge companies, and they make more profit. They really have a big motive to keep Marvel and DC from looking at greener pastures. They do not want them going to other distributors potentially. And since Diamond has total control over the retailer landscape, they make sure it's landscaped just special for Marvel and DC, without any viable competition ever having a chance to erode their agreed-upon market share. For decades now, the Diamond monopoly has curated for itself and its special interests a withering, impenetrable market. Now, I'm all for capitalism, I think it's great, but the Achilles heel of the system is the tendency for it to devolve into a stagnant monopoly with no competition. And the comic industry now is feeling the frustrating crystallization of life within an unchallenged monopoly. I think it might be high time for just a little challenging. Those of us creating, reading, and selling comics can do better. We can successfully bypass Diamond and bring new life to comic shops. Together we can implement a rescue system. We're producing a video about one possible solution, the Comic Shop List, a decentralized, modular, crowdsourced pre-order catalog that incurs no financial risk to store owners. But the simple truth is, nobody gets motivated to solve a problem they don't even perceive. Most readers have never even heard of Diamond distribution. They don't understand why comic shops always seem to be struggling. Most creators just take it for granted that their customers are all online. And, they write off comic shops as inaccessible without really stopping to wonder why that is. So let's talk about why. Let's talk about Diamond. After all this time, after their uncontested dominance and control, and in light of these chronic industry problems, isn't it fair to think that perhaps we could have the temerity to ask a few questions, and maybe even get a few answers? Isn't answering a few questions kind of the least they could do at this point? Questions like, exactly how much are the exclusive advantages worth that Marvel and DC enjoy? What are the precise rates, factoring in the accrued marketing value of the preferential previews placements? And what rates do they make outside authors pay, authors outside that little insider arrangement? And how many of these smaller publishers have gone out of business during Diamond's reign? Questions like, didn't anyone think it was the least bit creepy for their logo to be a rendition of the entire planet Earth locked within an angular prison? Just tossing that one out there. Questions like, why did they raise the minimum profit benchmarks for smaller publishers in recent years? And who was involved with the U.S. Justice Department investigation of Diamond in the late 90s? But Diamond doesn't seem to be in the business of answering questions, not even for journalists. Their entire PR department couldn't be bothered to provide a comment for a recent Bazinga article discussing the fallout of the Diamond monopoly. From that article, quote, Sullivan is among an almost unanimity of comic book retailers who say Diamond is bad news. Retailers must pre-order a set number of issues, which makes new titles a gamble. Everybody just orders Spider-Man or Batman, naturally. And there's one big question we should all be asking. What did they do to the Comics Whisperer? Because you see, someone else did try to set up an alternate distribution service just recently, and they promptly vanished.